Hey guys, it's Colin.
This is Roy.
This is a topic today that it's not a light topic. It's something that this person wants to remain anonymous actually, and it's not that this is a question. It's something. This is her exact words. She wanted to put on our hearts. So basically, it's about suicide, and we don't know if it's more prevalent now, but it seems like it is. There's a lot of kids out there, and I remember when I was a kid, you would come home and you'd have a bad day, and it'd be dismissed by the adults. They would just, wait till you get older and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I'm upset now. I'm having an issue right now. So, Roy, I don't know where he's gonna go with this. I meditated on it a little bit, but I'm gonna be just like you guys. I'm gonna sit back and see what Roy has on it. He's enthusiastic about what he came up with. So what do you got for us, Roy?
Yeah, man. I like you said, I don't know if this is more prevalent. Unfortunately, I think we live in a world now where we all kind of either know somebody whose son or daughter has done this. I know my son knows a couple of people his age that committed suicide. A friend of my family's son did that. I don't know the statistics, whether or not it actually happens more or not, but the thing is, it seems like it does. So I'm not your doctor, not your psychiatrist, not your psychologist. We always say do what you want to do. I want to give you some facts that I think you can draw your own conclusions with, and some ways to think about this that maybe will bring us to a different way of looking at it. So what I started thinking about was what's different about us and the kids these days, you know? And you gotta bear with me on this because it may seem like I'm gonna be leaning one way, but I'm actually leaning another. So here's what I want you to think about. Here's a couple of facts. Okay, when we were kids, all right, I need you to reflect back with me. When we were kids and we wanted to watch cartoons, when could we watch cartoons? We had one day, Saturday morning, you could watch cartoons. It didn't matter, you could go up to your parents on Wednesday and say, hey, I want to watch cartoons. Cartoons ain't on. Saturday morning, that's when you watch cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And you better not sleep late on Saturday morning because there was only 3 or 4 hours, right? Nowadays, the kid wants to watch cartoons.
Cartoon Network.
You got it on your
Nickelodeon.
Cable, on demand. You DVR their favorite shows. If they're little, you probably seen Frozen 1,000 times. They got a whole DVD collection. They watch exactly what they want right then on the spot. Ain't no waiting for it, ain't nothing. When we were kids, we were hungry. You go up to your mama and say, I'm hungry. What'd she say? Supper be ready in a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Or you ain't hungry, you just ate. Not that they were being mean, they were just saying, that's just the way it was. And you waited till supper. Nowadays, your kid comes up, says, I'm hungry. There's some Go-Gurt in the fridge. There's some Teddy Grahams, there's some Lunchables. There's this thing we'll go through the drive-thru. There's all kinds of sugar-laced, delicious poisons for you.
Right.
And, we can debate back and forth all day what that does to their mind and body. It's my opinion that it's very damaging.
It is.
A bunch of purple junk and, So anyway, when we were kids, if you went outside and you fell down, scraped your elbow, scraped your knee, you didn't want to go inside and tell your mama because everything they put on that shit burnt like crazy. There wasn't nothing they could put on there that felt good at all. It was what? Alcohol, peroxide, camphorphenique. That was it. And it hurt worse than the scrapes did.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time you didn't even say nothing. Nowadays, your kid gets scraped, we bring him inside, we put some Neosporin on it, some triple antibiotic ointment. We cover it with a Band-Aid, it's got their favorite cartoon character on it, they don't feel nothing. Nothing, right? So I guess you start thinking about these things. When we were kids, if we wanted some information, we had 2 choices. We could either go to the library, try to navigate that index card system, or if you were like us, or like me, I was fortunate enough to have a set of encyclopedias. We had an old set of encyclopedias from like 1964, and any report, anything I ever had to know about had to be in those encyclopedias, or I wasn't going to know about it. That's just the way it was. Nowadays, your kid has access to almost anything they can think of. Almost anything they can think of is at their fingertips. It's on their phones, it's on their tablets, on their iPads, on their laptops. All the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I say all these things not to say they've got it so easy, and that's the problem. I'm saying that because it's the opposite of that.
So
in my mind. Yeah, what has happened is we expect them to have all this responsibility. If you could imagine having access to all the information you wanted, access to any friends you wanted, and the ability to share any information you wanted instantly, is an incredible responsibility. That's a phenomenal responsibility. And that, that's one of those things that we expect them to deal with after their whole life. We've been robbing them of every opportunity they've had to cope, to wait, to deal with any form of pain or discomfort or to have to wait for something. They haven't known that ever. And the whole time we've been doing this, we've been giving them, what we thought was good for them. Go-Gurts and McDonald's and all this junk, right? That we could go all day about whether or not that does something to their mind or not. I think it probably does. I don't know why it would just discriminate just, organs. I'm sure it does something to the brain. I don't know. But anyway. So, and I'm not saying these things to say that, because that somehow we're done wrong. We've done the best we know to do. But I think that we need to look at it differently. That we need to look at our kids differently and realize that we expect them to deal with all the pressures of life, the pressures of high school, the pressures that can be put on in social media. I mean, I'm so glad they didn't have social media when I was a kid. Lord have mercy, I've been all over it.
Yeah,
I know that I couldn't have dealt with the responsibilities of having access to any information I could think of when I was a kid. There's no way I could have dealt with that. We try to monitor that, of course, but we don't stand a chance. Let's be real. We don't stand a chance against technology.
Right.
We don't stand a chance against it. So we expect our kids who have never had to feel anything, never had to wait on anything, never had to cope, never developed any of the mechanisms involved with that, have had their every want, never been in any discomfort. When we were kids, our parents would tell us, y'all go outside. Get out, go outside. They didn't care. There wasn't no stop, put sunscreen on, y'all come out, don't be out in the heat of the day, it's too cold, there wasn't none of that. You went outside, that was it. Nowadays, we save them from everything, or we think we do. They don't get a chance, they're never sick. First runny nose they get, they go to the doctor, they get antibiotics, it's over. They never feel anything, they never get a chance to develop mechanisms. And I'm not saying that chemical imbalance that will happen a lot of times, that people commit suicide and depression and all that sort of thing, that's directly a link. I would have to think that maybe
it's a part of it.
Maybe it's a part of it. You would have to think it would be. So I think that the only reason I say all those things, and like I said, I don't have the cure for this. I just want us to be able to look at this in a different light and realize that our logic that comes from our world, our background, our upbringing is not going to fit their world.
Exactly.
Ever. Those 2 points are never going to meet.
Right.
So we got to stop applying that to who they are and realize that who they are is who they are, and take responsibility for our part in it, and then try to meet somewhere in the middle. And I'm not saying don't take your kid to the doctor. I'm not saying don't clean them up, don't feed them, or none of that mess. I'm just saying that there's got to be some control medium. For me and my kids, I tried to make sure that they felt some kind of discomfort in their lives. Controlled. I'm right there with you. I love you. I'm your father. I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you. If you don't like taking showers, then we're going to take a shower. You know what I mean? You're going to have to get in the shower. Right. But I'm going to be there with you. I'm not going to let you get hurt. I'm not going to, if it becomes too uncomfortable, hey, I'm there. You know what I mean? If you don't like eating a certain thing, well, if you don't like your vegetables, the rule in my house was whatever you don't like on your plate, you eat that first.
Right.
Get it out of the way. Then you'll eat the stuff you like. So my kids immediately, every time we sit down and eat, they turn their plate to what I know what they don't like the most, because they turn it to that. They eat that. There's just certain kinds of things you can do to help them develop coping mechanisms, I think. That's my opinion. I don't know if that's going to save anybody, but maybe, hopefully, it'll start a different kind of thinking about it. So that's just kind of what my thoughts on it were, and I hope that helps you somehow, helps you see it a little differently, and maybe we can start a new way of looking at it, a new way of thinking about it.
Absolutely, man. It's going to help you to be more empathetic to a person that's having an issue. I mean, you remember when we were kids, Roy? Most of you won't remember this. Do you remember a pen pal?
Yeah, yes,
remember,
I do.
Like the joy in waiting for months for that letter to come in, and now we don't even have the patience to wait for a text. I mean, that disconnect of just all of the principles that are behind the waiting or the not even really the misery or anything like that.
Just learning how to struggle.
Exactly.
Learning how to struggle.
Because that's going to get you to a point that you get the thing that you want. But with someone that's that deep in the well, we've got to be able to show them empathy. And me with my mentality of a pen pal, and you with the mentality of just all this access to instant gratification in your pocket, you're going to have to find a happy medium to meet that person, to find that empathy. And is what I'm getting.
Yes, absolutely. And neither one is right or wrong. These are just different paths.
Yeah, it's just different.
Thinking.
You know, this.
I'm not saying we had it better, they had it worse. None of that.
It's just a difference.
It's just different, and that's, you know, it's important that we see the differences, and we realize that some of these things, their world is their world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and these things, these technologies and all these things are incredibly positive. This is really an incredibly positive thing. Unfortunately, the way the world works, anytime you have an incredible amount of positivity, you're going to have an equal amount of negativity. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we need to learn to navigate that and see it for what it is instead of what ours is.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not the world we're living in.
It's not inferior, superior. It's just what it is.
That's right.
2 + 2 is 4.
That's it. I hope that helps you. Yeah, and don't forget, if you got any questions for us, feel free to hit us on Facebook. There'll be an email link at the bottom of this. We'd be glad to talk about it.
Anything you want to talk about.
That's it.
Is there anything? That's 15.